Share. Share via email post to your profile report story. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. Author's note. Hello, I'm back. I haven't been able to update because of a writer's block I can't get rid of for a week. I was also thinking about fate of this story. I'll inform you guys on a later date. For now, I hope you guys enjoy this chapter. Thanks for waiting, by the way. There's too much cheesiness going on, so I apologize if some won't like it XD. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. I love you too, Izuku. Deku's face lit up at that moment. He didn't blush or sweat. Just a genuine smile. He pulled her closer to him, wrapping her in his arms in tears. Ochako can't stop chuckling at the reaction of her man. Yes, he was hers now and it made her happy. All her sacrifices and efforts were worth it. She sighed in relief, gently pushing Izuku a few inches away from her to see his face. Izuku, lighten up, it's still your birthday, you'll start flooding the dorm. She smiled at her emotional cinnamon roll. We still have to light your cake, you know. Deku smiled back at her, contemplating on how he got so lucky. He finally built up the courage to confess, and now she's in his arms. I know, sorry. It's just I didn't know it would go like this, Ochako. I don't know what I did to deserve you. What do you mean, silly? She chuckled. You know what you did. You made me fall for you. Quite literally, if I may add. She laughed with her forehead still leaned with Izuku's. Kiss again, you love birds. Huh. The pair turned to the direction of the voice in unison. It was Mina squealing from a distance. They were focused too much with one another that they forgot the fact that there are other people in the venue. Uraraka, as expected out of embarrassment, accidentally held Izuku tighter with all her fingers, making him float. Umocha, said Deku as he started to hover from the ground. He grabbed Ochako's hand so he wouldn't float through the open ceiling. Oh gosh, sorry, Izuku. She replied, releasing her quirk while blushing uncontrollably. Mina, on the other hand, can't help but giggle at the interaction of the two. They were so composed and romantic earlier. The pink girl remarked, covering her mouth to hold back her laughter. Now they're blushing again, they're so cute together. She said playfully. I think you kind of ruined their moment, babe. Kirishima remarked, making Mina laugh even more. What do you mean, Ag? I'm just teasing, you know. You're a buzzkill sometimes. She pouted and looked away from her boyfriend. Promoted stories. You'll also like Anti-Hero, 26.5K 941. Yaoyorozu Momo, Bakugo Katsuki and Todoroki Shoto are top students and unlikely friends from UA Academy, a school in an alternate Japan that has 80% of its entire populace. Villains and Heroes MHA Fanfic, 28.1K 870. Izuku was a small kid with the ability to take others' quirks and use them for himself or give them to others. But a tragedy strikes and destroys his life, and the only pay. Devotion rightwards two-headed arrow Katsuki Bakugo X Reader. 1.5M 46.4K. YN as a new student at UA High. She moved away with her dad a few years ago after her mom disappeared. While she lived here, her two friends Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki. The Rising of the Shield Hero of Peace. 38K789. When All Might, formerly the #1 hero in Japan, also known as the symbol of peace, is transported to a world where he is dubbed and Quad, the shield hero, and Quad, his name. MHA reacts to Paranormal Liberation War. Company, 73K 1.8K. Paranormal Liberation War, the event that shook the world of My Hero Academia and turned the entire country of Japan into a lawless land. Many heroes lost their lives in Traitor, Villian Deku, 138K 4.3K. 3 teenagers, Izuku Midoriya Fumikage Tokiyami Denki Kaminari, are villains in a world where heroes and villains exist. They're assigned a task to go into the Presti. A Dragon's Trust Book 1. 2.2 m 60.4k. A Dragon's Trust BNHA Various X Nightlight. Reader Book 1. And Quad. W. What are you and Quad? And Quad. A friend. And Quad. Tilde 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 tilde. Female. Reader. Male and female love interest. He smiled at Mina's reaction, laughing at her tendency to ship her friends with everyone. Besides, that's probably how his friends brought up enough courage to confess to their crushes. She's partly responsible for his friend's happiness and now she's responsible for his. He loved her for that. Kirishima glanced at his girlfriend and noticed she's frowning. He then gestured to the FX team. He wanted them to play the next song. Moments later another song played. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. Izuocha. Sorry Izuku, I didn't mean to make you float, she uttered, covering her face out of embarrassment. Mina as always made it awkward for them even though their feelings have been out in the open. It's okay Ochako, he said, giving her a reassuring smile, which made her smile back at him. I'm glad I grabbed a hold of you before I flew off, he joked, making her chuckle. Suddenly the intro of Thinking Out Loud played as expected. It still caught them by surprise. No one really knows how much Mina's planned for them. Looks like we're dancing again, she uttered. Do you want to go back to the table? Are your legs okay? She asked. I'm fine Ochako, and my legs are too, I've gotten used to my own weight. He assured. Besides, I want us to stay this way for a while, you know. He said, gazing at her eyes. His words made Ochako feel butterflies in her stomach. She leaned her forehead against Izuku's as they began to slow dance once again. Hey man, you mind if we join you? Of course Kirishima, Deku replied as he watched Karimina slow dance as well. Not a second later all the couples in their class started to join them. Ochako was left in awe by the fact that she's now dancing with her man. To her it's weeks overdue since the Nabu incident. So Ochako, said Deku. What is it Izuku? She asked. I'm sorry, I'm kind of not used to this, but where do we go from here? He asked. I never had a girlfriend before, so. Girlfriend, she exclaimed, immediately turning red. Sorry, I kind of assumed was I wrong? I said oh soon. Do you want to? He told you I'm noticed to this. He mumbled, lowering his head, avoiding eye contact. No, it's okay. I was just not used to it yet, that's all. Of course I want to be your girlfriend Izuku, she smiled at the mumbling mess of a man. But to be completely honest, I also don't know where to start or how we should act. She uttered. All I know is that I love you Izuku. I know we'll know what to do along the way, she added, avoiding eye contact as well so she wouldn't blush as much. Izuku stared at the brunette for a few seconds. He smiled, contemplating on how he got such a beautiful girl in front of him. I guess we'll have to figure it out together then. Right, she replied, pulling him closer to her so she can lean her head against his chest as they were slow dancing. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. Kirimina. After gesturing the FX team for the song, Kirishima stood up in front of Mina, offering his hand. What do you want Kirishima? She replied, as cold as she can muster. We're at a party with good music, babe. It's not manly to just sit here without asking my lady to dance. Kirishima explained. So, what do you say? Fine, you lead, she replied, pretending to be irritated. Great, let's go babe, I got you, he said confidently. They walked towards the dance floor to join Izuku and Ochako. Hey man, you mind if we join you? He asked Deku. Of course Kirishima. For a few moments the couple was silently dancing. So are you gonna pretend to be mad the whole time, babe? Eijiro asked. What makes you say I'm not really mad? She frowned, looking away from her boyfriend. Who knows? I might be beating you up in my head right now. Eiji chuckled, pulling his girl closer. I don't mind. You look hot when you're mad. Might as well get the whole package later. He winked mischievously, earning a smack to the head from Mina. Have you been hanging around with Mineta? She uttered, visibly blushing. You're turning you into quite the pervert. Well, I've been hanging around him, but I'm not a pervert. I'm just a manly bachelor who loves his woman, said Kirishima, pulling her closer to him. Mina felt flustered by his remark, trying her best to not melt from his glare. That's smooth, babe. Very smooth, she uttered, wrapping her arms around his neck, leaning in for a kiss. She felt her cheeks warmed up as Kirishima tightened his embrace. Their lips parted for a few seconds. See, you're not mad, babe. He grinned, attempting to lean in for another one, but Mina stopped him with her finger. Fine, you caught me, she conceded, but let's finish the dance first, then you'll get another kiss, Mina said, giggling at her boyfriend's persistence. The man frowned at her interruption. Just one more, babe. Later, Eijiro Kirishima. She insisted. You'll get your kiss later, upstairs when we're alone, okay? She winked at her puzzled partner. He stared at her for a few seconds before realizing what she meant. I'll hold you to that, he said. Todomomo. Todoroki watched as Kirishima takes Mina to the dance floor. He glanced at Yaoyorozu, who was currently sitting beside him. Admittedly, things have been quite awkward between them since Todoroki's accidental public display of affection. Fearing of another encounter, he thought it would best not to ask her to dance. In fact, he was silent the whole party. Momo glanced back at Todoroki, hoping that he'll take notice of her. He's not saying a word ever since he kissed me in front of everyone. Not a single word at all. She felt wretched as she stares at her boyfriend. She's been waiting for him to ask her for a dance. Watching her friends dance with their boyfriends was unbearable for her, not because they were dancing but because she and Shoto weren't. Moments later, she couldn't just sit and wait for him anymore. She was blushing hard when she decided to grab Todoroki's hand, pulling him up from his chair. Momo, what are you doing? Our friends are watching, Shoto asked, trying to convince her to stop. I don't care, Shoto. She replied with a faint smile, looking at his eyes. So please, stop worrying, let this be about us, okay? She assured. Being the one to make a move was a first for Momo. However, not talking to her boyfriend was harder for her. He was noticeably silent as they danced, and it made her worry. Are you sure it's okay? Last thing I want is to be placed in a difficult position again, he uttered, rubbing the back of his head. I'm sure, she blushingly replied, wrapping her arms around his neck as he reluctantly placed his hands on her waist. They really got you earlier, huh? She asked her boyfriend as they slow danced. Yeah, sorry, he responded as he looks away from his girlfriend. You know I didn't dress like this just for my boyfriend to not look at me, she remarked with a pained expression. Her face starts to blush, not in a good way, as she uttered her next words. Sigh, I was kind of looking forward to this, Shoto. She lowered her head as she slowly moves her arms off him, taking a step back. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. Kamijirou. Look at those two, Midoriya finally confessed. Denki remarks as he observed the pair. That guy almost went through harem just to get to that point. And can't believe I asked Uraraka out back then. Midoriya sure is a lucky GU. He laughed but was interrupted by a zapping sound that caused his body to almost contort from the discomfort. What the hell, Kyoka? He berated, struggling to recover from the damage. What was that for? Nothing. Just to stop you from saying something annoying. She replied with her arms crossed. Why do you always make me suffer? He playfully asked, grabbing Kyoka's hand, taking her to the dance floor. What are you doing, moron? She asked, blushing as her man wraps his arms around her waist, pulling her closer to him. Payback from that zap earlier, babe. We're joining our friends. If you think this is payback, you're a softie. Kyoka replied, smiling at the Pikachu-haired dude. Maybe I am a softie. Smirks, but it's your fault for looking so stunning. He uttered with a hint of perversion. The raven-haired girl blushed at her boyfriend's remark. You really think I'm stunning? She asked. Of course, baby. Denki wittily replied. Why? You think you're not? He politely asked. Well, not that I care, but whenever Mineta does something pervy, he seemed to skip me somehow, not unless it has something to do with our relationship. Kaminari only stared at her with a surprised look. Do you want him to include you in his pervy antics? He asked, pointing at the still dangling Mineta. What? God, no. Of course not. It's just, seeing the girls now looking so beautiful. I kind of felt insecure. Why didn't you say anything, Kyoka? He asked, now looking concerned. I just didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But seeing them tonight and Mineta's comments about Momo and Ochako kind of messed me up a bit. She embarrassingly admitted. You admitting that you once asked Ochako on a date doesn't help either. She added, furrowed. Come on, babe, that was like 1,000 years ago. He nervously replied, oh crap, I'm dead, am I? Why didn't you tell me, moron? I bet you still have the hots for her. The blonde Pikachu laughed at her remark, causing Jiro to get a bit irritated. Why are you laughing? Nothing. I just never pegged you as an insecure type. I mean, why would you be? He replied, leaving Jiro a bit clueless. What are you talking about? She asked, but was cut off by Denki pulling her closer, leaning his forehead against hers. You look beautiful, babe, and don't worry about that thing with Uraraka. I with you now, that's all that matters. To me, you're the most gorgeous girl tonight, don't let yourself say otherwise. How do I know you're not just saying that to butter me up, moron? She replied, still pissed off. Just trust me, babe, you know I love you more than anything. He winked, causing Jiro to smile. Damn it, I can't resist that smile. She blushingly thought. Sigh, too cheesy, Mr. Kaminari, too cheesy. She uttered, chuckling at the witty reply. Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank. What do you mean the raid had been compromised? Tsukauchi irritably exclaimed. That was supposed to be the last operation to officially rid this city of Trigger. Who is responsible for this? Gran Torino asked the young officer. The injured officer said that the culprit was a large villain covered with muscles. The villain was too strong and too fast. He managed to neutralize our forces before any reinforcements and heroes arrived, the officer stated. Tsukauchi and Gran Torino looked at each other, knowing exactly who he was. Is there anything else to report? Tsukauchi asked. Well, even though they didn't manage to capture the gang, they did manage to confiscate the triggers though, but there's a problem, Captain Tsukauchi. What is it? When the team checked the logbook left by the gang for evidence, they scanned through all of the day's transport, but somehow there are 5 triggers unaccounted for. We believe the large villain might have taken some it. Alright, thank you, officer. Please don't forget to submit your written report for the incident. You're dismissed. Tsukauchi ordered. Do you think it's muscular too? Tsukauchi asked. Indeed, although based on young Midoriya's description of the villain, it's out of character for him to use a quirk enhancement serum. What is he planning? Blank, underscore, blank, underscore, blank.